Ho, ho, ho. Good evening, Cheeseheads, and welcome to tonight's Cheese Room show. It's Christmas Eve here still. I believe over in Australia, where the other two lads are from, it's Christmas Eve. But in true Cheese Room fashion, we've got a wonderful panel tonight from different parts all over the world. In the top right-hand corner, we have got the current host Cheese Room. What are you, HG? Tell us what you are. Broadcaster of the year. Broadcaster of the year.
That was the title bestowed upon me. Yeah, I don't know who voted for it. I suspect it was more of a nasty thing than anything positive. But yes, that's what I got. So yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, none of us are working anymore, right? We've all got a bit of time
All
off.
knocked it on the head, mate. That's why I look fresh faced.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I'm excited to have Christmas tomorrow. Because for me it is tomorrow. But yeah, I'm all right.
Yep. And bottom right, all the way from Sydney. Happy Hanukkah, Dave. How are you?
Happy Hanukkah. Thank you very much, Matt. I'm very well. You know, we've got the Christmas tree over there. We've got the menorah. This is like a multicultural home that we have here. So lovely to be back on the panel. It's been a couple of weeks. I think since I predicted England would beat France 4-2.
Talking about predictions, bottom left, I predict a riot. Cam, all the way from Melbourne. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Yeah, happy Christmas Eve here. So it's going to be a nice 23, 24 degree day. Then Christmas tomorrow, it's going to be about 29, 30. So on the beach at my uncle's place. So I'll cook up some prawns and have a couple of beers and live up to the stereotype. And yeah, it'll be a good Christmas. But yeah, no more work for a couple of days and then back to work mid next week.
Oh, brilliant. That's what we like to hear. Anyway, obviously, tonight we'll preview the Brentford game and we'll be asking the panel for some predictions and stuff. First of all of us at the Cheese Room here would like to pay our respects to George Cohen, part of the England 1966 World Cup team. Died today at the age of 83. I'm just reading some of the stats about Cohen. He played his entire career at Fulham. He played over 450 times between 1956 and 1969. He represented England 37 times, including all 6 games at the 66 World Cup, which was the only trophy he ever won. Another fact about him is nephew Ben Cohen was part of the England Rugby World Cup winning squad. So, yeah, we'd like to pay our respects. And Davo, obviously you saw his debut, apparently.
Every time this happens, right? Every time. I mean, even when the Queen passed away earlier this year, I was asked for my comments on the Queen and her reign as I was around for all of it. I mean,
Were you at the coronation?
Yeah, me and Henry VIII dug him up and we were there together. It's great.
No, but in all seriousness, deepest thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends. But look, I don't know much about him, but he had a good career, obviously. Big part of the 66 World Cup team. So just like everybody to know that, we're thinking of him. All right.
The question is how many's left of that 66 team squad now?
I was going to ask that.
As time's gone. Is it 2 now?
Bobby Charlton.
Bobby Charlton and Jeff Hurst.
Yeah.
Wow.
How big would the squad have been back then?
You still would have had quite a big squad because although they didn't have subs
like 23.
Then, yeah, they did. Yeah, it's quite a big squad.
Okay. Anyway, let's get into what everybody's here to hear about is the Brentford away Boxing Day. No Richie, no Bentancur. Conte's told us that Forster will start in goal, and obviously Romero will be back for the Villa game if he fancies it. So,
stop it with the sun. Stop it with the sun. What are you doing if he fancies it? We know he's going to be back.
So, I think first of all, let's go for some predicted lineups. Obviously, we've had a couple of friendlies, so you can't really tell anything from them because all the top players have been at the World Cup. So, HG, we'll go with you first. What sort of lineup do you think Conte is going to be picking?
I think it will be pretty much what I mean, yeah, it'll be 3-4-3 almost certainly. I suspect Doherty will play down the left and Royal on the right. The front three, we all know the three we have available. Therefore, it will be those three. I know Brian's available, but he won't start. So it's just a question of really what we do at the back. If we decide to do what we've done previously and have Dyer play on the right hand side when Romero was out, or if we put Sanchez there. I prefer that we put Dyer there, but I think it's probably 10 of the 11 I could name right now. The only question is going to be like, what are we going to do with Doherty? Because he seems to be playing quite well, and if Perisic has only just come back to training and Sessegnon, isn't the guy, then are we going to see Doherty play on the left?
Fit as a field, though, any Perisic, I'm sure he could. He's had a couple of days training. He'll slot straight back in. So you said you could probably.
I don't think Conte will. I mean, I think that if Doherty hadn't been playing and doing all right, logically you might say Doherty on the right and Perisic on the left. I think that's probably what I would prefer to see, but I don't see Conte doing that.
No, it's a shame, isn't it? Cam, what do you think? Agree with HG, or have you got your own thoughts?
I agree with HG. I think it'll be Davies long leg, probably Deer, but I watched his presser this morning. It was overnight. He was holding his cards close to his chest. Most, if not all, the players are back now. I don't know if he's going to refer back to just what he had beforehand, even though there's players that have played into form during the World Cup. I agree with HG, but I just wouldn't be I would like to see some of the guys that have been shining during the World playing the practice games be given a shot. I don't think Conte will do that though. So it's a bit of a unknown at the present time. We'll obviously know in about 48 hours. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, Davo,
is Davis fit? Do we know?
Currently, so fit? I think Davis is fit. Yeah. I think Davis
is
fit to play. I'm sure he said that. What do you think, Davo? Because I think Emerson right wing back and Doherty left wing back just sounds fucking awful. What do you think?
Well, that's what he'll play.
Yeah,
that's what he'll play. I thought for about a month before we stopped for the World Cup, Dyer wasn't playing that well, and I think he's much more suited playing as the middle one of the back three. I could understand why he doesn't want to play Sanchez on the basis he's shit. And if you've got Sanchez on the right and Emerson on the right, I mean, that's just a Bermuda Triangle of ball distribution. And then up top, I mean, what have you got up top? He's going to have to play Kane. You got Kulu, thank God, who's back.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Kulu is everyone was like, we missed him so much. Actually, when he got injured, we weren't playing him. Richarlison was up top instead of him.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite clear that we've missed his guile and inventiveness. So you're obviously going to go with Kulu, Sonny, Kane up top. Then you have Basuma, Højbjerg in the middle, and then you've got your inverted wing backs, and I think that's what we're going. Forster will be in goal.
Yeah. Well, he Conte in his presser today has said that Forster will be starting in goal. So. Do we think though that if Forster has a good game that he'll keep his place, or does Lloris come straight back in for the Villa game?
Lloris comes back in.
Yeah,
I think he would want to get the monkey off his back pretty quick. I think he'll just want to wash out all the disappointment of the World Cup final.
Playing for Tottenham.
If he's mentally okay, I think he wants to actually refer back to type and obviously get back in goal and just get over the last week.
Yeah, because if you've lost the World Cup final, what better place to come back to recover psychologically than playing behind Emerson Royale and Davison Sanchez?
Yeah.
The starters.
Yeah.
But isn't the Argentine keeper at Villa?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah. Martinez is a Villa player, yeah. But
nice.
so we've got obviously we're talking about the players we think will play, but Spurs had the top three most minutes played in that World Cup. Do we think that'll have a big impact on team selections and on teams? Because I think the players who played in the World Cup probably be in better shape match-wise than some of the ones who haven't. What do you think, HG? Just because I think they've been playing games, they've been playing important games. Like that Motherwell friendly was just literally like two teams playing up Evesham United, wasn't it? It was just it's just a training game,
Good
really.
facility, Evesham. Blimey.
Yeah, but then too bad. But what I mean is, do you think? I think that the players in the World Cup, even if they were out in the sort of earlier rounds, they'll have been playing some meaningful matches. I think them friendlies are just something or nothing, really.
Yeah, I mean they are. Like I think that they've been playing games in the World Cup, and you've got Romero who played all 7, and Perisic who played all 7. Like that's 7 games in what, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not the workload they had beforehand. It's nowhere near the workload they had beforehand. So as much as everyone talks about the amount of minutes that they've played, generally speaking, I don't think that's a problem. They'll play more than that in the next 6 weeks playing for Spurs with all the games that we've got. So I just think that it's kind of a red herring. Like if they want to come and play, then they will. It's no different than when you get those South American qualifiers and the player lands on the Thursday morning or the Friday morning, and there's a game Saturday lunchtime, and sometimes they still play those games as well. So I would like to think that Conte will base his selection on what he's seen at Spurs rather than who's been around for the last 2 weeks. But you just don't know, because it's the next game is New Year's Day, so there's 5 days then. I don't think we need to be stressing too much about workload, considering they've got basically one game without Romero, and that's pretty much it. And Lloris, that I don't think many of us really see Forster to be that much of a downgrade to Lloris. That doesn't mean that Lloris isn't good. It's just that Forster's more than capable of playing the odd game, and it shouldn't affect the quality that we have.
What do you think, Davo? Because obviously I think Romero is arguably the best defender we've got, but he's not like a massive miss because we haven't seen him play since pre-season, have we? So, how do you think Romero?
Who?
You, Dave. I'm saying that
Romero.
The guy who played for Argentina, yeah.
I remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That the guy we signed and he plays for Argentina.
That's him.
Yeah, because I think we're going to get invoiced by the Argentinian FA, aren't we, for him playing for us, isn't it? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope he's got a new director of social media, because the last one wasn't very good. I mean, if you don't turn up for 7 games because you're injured for the World Cup, and the very next day after the Leeds game, there he is in his Argentinian training bib with the lads. It's not very clever, is it? I think that. I think that if you look at World Cups that have taken place in the summer and the following season, there's been a massive fatigue factor. I mean, there's, I think 13 players. Was it 13 players were in the semi-finals, involved in the semi-finals of the 2018 World Cup, and we had a massive drop-off in form because we didn't buy anyone in the 2 windows after. And then if you look at it now, we've got we're playing 3 games a week really before and 3 games a week after, unless we get knocked out of the Champions League, the FA Cup. And I still think we're a bit thin in squad-wise. I think our 5th and 6th choice up top are not good enough. We've the right wing-back situation is a bit of a joke. And then the centre-backs as well. So, I think we would have been better more stockpiling in the summer window. And it's where we are. But the other interesting thing is that obviously everyone else who's not gone to the World Cup hasn't played for 6 weeks. So it's a bit like they've had 2 pre-seasons. And, in the first few games of the season, the players getting into the rhythm of it, and they're all a bit rusty and this, that, and the other. So there's that mix, which is why I think England played pretty well in the World Cup, because they didn't hang around for 4 weeks at the end of the season and then go into the tournament. They were all mid-tournament, like a lot of other teams as well. So who knows? But, Brentford hardly had anyone at the World Cup. Thomas Frank would have had them for a good period of time. So I think it's going to be a tough game.
Oh, yeah, I think it'll be a tough game. You probably think the same, Cam, but do you think having more players at the World Cup will affect Spurs with fatigue, or do you think those players who have played at the World Cup, and Brentford haven't had players, they've been just training in a few friendlies, do you think Spurs should be sharper, should be more at it?
No. I think physically they'll be okay. I think mentally is the question mark. I mean, let's be honest. Coming into the World Cup, we weren't exactly the sharpest team in progress. Well, we weren't exactly performing at great heights that we can do of late last season. Let's be honest. Kane's Son was, let's be honest, Son wasn't exactly lighting it up. So going to a World Cup on the other side of the planet, playing 2 to 3 games a week in Qatar, then flying back, obviously processing the disappointment. Mentally is the question mark on some of those players. And I just think I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw tomorrow. Not that I'm predicting straight away, but I actually think there'll be a bit of mental lag there because of what you said earlier, that most World Cups, there's been a lag in various players, from 4 years ago and what have you. So I actually think we're going to be a little bit blunt for the time being. Richie probably getting injured is probably good timing because he'll hopefully come back a bit sharper. So I actually think it's going to be a tough one.
Do you think we'll start off the first half slow and then get better in the second half?
I would heavily assume that, yeah. If Kane, Son play, Højbjerg should be a little bit more refreshed because we eliminated him out of the World Cup.
Yeah,
but I think there's going to be a mental lag there because I just don't know if all of them have processed it at the present time. It's the mental side for me. I think physically they're professionals. Mentally, it's the question mark for me. We're going to probably get a good small sample size after tomorrow's performance.
Yeah. HG, what Son? I think he sort of carried on his Spurs form into the World Cup, didn't he? Do you think? What do you think we're going to see from him? Do you think we're going to, he's going to have a kick up the arse and he's going to start playing a bit better, or we just don't know?
We're asking our wide attackers to hold the ball up, right? And Kulusevski can do it, and Richarlison can do it, and Kane can do it, and Son can't. I almost feel like it would be better to have Son be the focal point and have Kane just drift to the left-hand side because that might make the system function more. Son has always been an instinctive player, and it's not as if he's been missing loads of chances. That's the worrying part. He doesn't really fit what Conte wants to do, and it makes you wonder. Towards the end of last season, we were winning games quite handily, and he was scoring a number of goals, and that's what got him the Golden Boot. So, what has changed? Have teams figured us out? Are they playing 3 at the back, and that's nullified our front 3 completely? Because Son doesn't want to have a defender up his arse, and that's pretty much what he's had the whole season. So, if you're Brentford, and you've rewatched the games, that's what you'll do. You'll play 3 at the back, and whoever's on that side will be, basically as close to Son as he can be the whole game. Because it doesn't just nullify Son in the build-up play, but also he's not on the end of anything that we're creating. We might create more with Kulusevski in the side. I'm sure we will, but I feel like the rest of the team has to function better for Son's form to improve.
Yeah. Dave, how do you think, obviously with Bentancur being out as well, obviously HG's talking about the team's got to function better. Do you think the pairing of Basuma and Højbjerg, which we all assume it will be, do you think that will help? Do you think, there'll be any more creative, or do you think it's just pretty much the same as it would have been before the World Cup?
I don't think it will help. As Cameron said, we really crawled to the World Cup break, didn't we? We really did, and we're in the top 4, and we qualified out of our group, which we made a lot harder than we really needed to. But you'd have taken that at the start of the season, and I think that's what Conte wanted to do and factor in. I think with Son, I'd be probably a little less generous than what HG is, because I just think I don't think he's playing very well. Yeah. He's lacking a bit of confidence, and some of the chances he did get, he was kind of snatching it on them. One of the away games, I think, was it the Frankfurt away game in the Champions League? He had a good couple of chances that he should have put away, and I just think it's not happening for him at all at the moment. And on the point about Richarlison that Cameron made before, I think the injury was actually really bad timing, because he was actually getting himself into some playing form, match fitness in the World Cup and some momentum. And he was looking good, playing, frankly, in a more centralised role. And that would have been handy to kind of rotate if we wanted to put 3 in the midfield and 2 up top. So I think the Richarlison injuries, I think, is really bad timing for us. And Son, he's just... if we are asking him to keep possession, things like that, and he's not doing it, but I just think his all-round play has not been great this season at all. And the fact is, he's had competition for his place for the first time in in a long time in his career at Tottenham. But now that's dissipated because Richarlison's out. So I think it's a worry.
Who has been Son's competition? He played every game pretty much until he got injured. So where was the competition on that side? There wasn't
60
one.
minutes, first 60 minutes against Leicester at home when he was on the
Because-
bench.
King Hoddle says something interesting that Kulu's emergence has impacted Son in his opinion. Has it knocked the balance out of Son a little bit now that Kulu's lighting it up?
But
Yeah,
it
you
never,
say that, but
at the end of
Kulu
last
came- but-
season,
Yeah, that's right. Kulu came in January, and him and Bentancur, really, kick-started the second half of the season for us.
Agreed.
And Son
Yeah.
got a truckload of goals. So I'm not, with all due respect to King Hoddle, I'm not sure I agree with him.
you have to be very, very careful because you can't say nasty things about Son because he's such a lovely bloke. So we have to be careful with the things we say. But I
feel like, hang on a second. I feel like King Hoddle's comment here is about as levy as you can get, because you can take that in various ways.
As leading,
it's
did
impacted
you say?
Son in a good way, in a bad way. It's just impacted him somehow, and you decide for yourself what I actually mean by that. That's a really good comment. I like that.
I just think that Son. I agree with. Was it Davo? He just hasn't been playing well. He's nowhere near at it. And sometimes like we kept playing him and dropped Kulusevski to get Richarlison in at the start of the season to play him through his bad form so we could keep him going. So it's not. So he's been in poor form all season, and I think he was pretty. I know he had one really good assist for career, but he was poor for them. So whatever, and I'm not going to say it again, but I've said stuff about how Potts used to treat him and how he used to get him out of sort of like a little slumping form. But he basically needs to get his ass into gear, and he needs to kick up the ass, and he needs to get playing. That's what we need him to do. We can't let it be the old Delhi where you just let him keep playing. And go, there's a player in there somewhere. At some point he's got to stand up and be counted and get on with it.
You just contradicted yourself in the space of 1 minute, because
Go
one
on,
minute ago he's a nice person and you can't criticise him, and then you've gone.
When I said that, I was taking the piss, wasn't I? A lot of people get funny when you say stuff about Son because he's a lovely person and he's always smiling and all that bollocks. And I'm obviously very much like.
We were on a show together, weren't we, with Irish Hotspur? And Irish Hotspur was basically, no, you just Son plays. He just plays it the whole time. And we were both looking at each other going, no. So I think for us, it's always like, we always have that memory of having someone come on our show and basically say that Son was undroppable, even though he hadn't scored a goal, I don't think at that point.
Yeah, I just find, you not tough love, but, I think sometimes these, like Son, he has been poor and he needs to step it up now. And I think sometimes you have to we can't. That's another. We can't. If we didn't play him, who the fuck would we play? Brian Hill instead of him or Lucas? Nah.
Do you think it would help Son if we went to 3-5-2 more often and he was one of the two?
Cam, you answer that, mate.
I don't think it's worked so far completely. We weren't playing 3-5-2 when those guys, Kulu and Bentancur, came in. I don't think we're playing more 3-4-3, weren't we? Or 4.
Yeah. We have done 3-5-2 a couple of times this season,
but it hasn't helped Son
because people were out. But Son was one of those who was out. I don't think he likes because everything's so automated, right? So he has his position and he has to stay there and do the things he's been asked to do, and the people will make the runs they've practiced. So he knows, but it's just not his thing. He doesn't. To me at least, he's always been better if he can get the ball and then run at people. He's never been one for the intricate stuff with teammates. He's he
needs space.
He wouldn't work at Arsenal to do that. It's just not his thing. He's very much a give me a one-on-one situation and I can knock it and get half a yard and find the bottom corner. That's Son's game, and so it's just I do feel that as much as the system is great for Kulusevski, it doesn't work so much for Son. And if Kulusevski's not there and you've got Richarlison out of position trying to do the same, it does impact everything. I don't think Son's played well, but I do think that I do think he's being asked to do things that he's not good at. and that will impact his output. And like I think I would find it quite easy to defend against Son if all he's doing is facing his own midfield. Like that makes life everything much easier.
Yeah, Dave,
Son, like you said, instinctive. And when he's hot, he's hot. And when he's not, he is really low to the point of red card frustration.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dave? Because sometimes, like what HG and Cam just said, I sort of agree with that. It's not his game, and do you think sometimes you can tell by his demeanour and stuff like that? Not saying he's sort of like throwing a wobbly or whatever, but he seems to me like he's a bit like, poor me. I'm being asked to do stuff I can't do, and it's not working for me. What do you think?
Well, I think the Burberry he's wearing at the moment is not helping either. No, not really. Doesn't do it for me. I thought that was Kate Moss, wasn't it? Anyway, look, I actually think that when he's played best when he's through the middle. When Kane got injured in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and then playing the second leg up at Manchester in the Ajax game, and it was more it was a bit more kind of interchangeable fluid with Moura, Dele, and Son. I thought that worked quite well actually in terms of how that worked, because a little bit more pace and good on the counter there. And again, I don't think he had too much time to think about things. But obviously, his main kind of goal was cutting in from the left-hand side and scoring his right foot. And it's just not been given that. I mean, one theory was as Perisic's being in, it also been an issue because he's had a proper, in a way, left wing back. Being more of an attacking threat than Sessegnon, Reguilon, and whoever else. So that might be an issue as well. But I don't know. He's just not. I'm sorry. He's just been out of form this season, and it's not there's the dips and it'll come good. He's not, and not even in the, as you said, it didn't show too much in the World Cup either. So it's a concern. Yeah. And if we had a decent 5th and 6th choice, then we could rotate him more.
Yep.
But we haven't.
Correct.
Hopefully.
So if we've only got 4, then have a 3-5-2, and then you can rotate those 4.
Absolutely.
Have we got a 4? Who's our 4?
Well, Richarlison, if he's fit, would be the 4.
When he's fit. Sorry, at the minute it's.
But I mean, if you're basing it if you're saying that we don't have a 5th and 6th when we're playing 3, then okay, we've got 4 that Conte trusts. Is there something in that? Is that why we've been linked with Rabiot, who would be another central midfielder that would help stock up those numbers? Considering that clearly Conte's never going to play Pape Sarr, and he's probably never going to play Harvey White. So we've only really got 3 midfielders on skip, so 4. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what is he trying to do with his system? Does he realise that he doesn't have 6 attackers that he trusts, and getting an extra midfielder is cheaper than buying an extra attacker? So we'll switch the system. I don't know.
I mean, I know it's going to come in. We'll talk about it more in the transfer bit at the end. But I think there was talk about him trying to get this playmaker. Either when we're talking about it might be a playmaker who plays deeper, which is Rabiot, isn't it? Because obviously, Son, like you said, Son doesn't really create, does he? Kulusevski is the creative spot. But if we were to change formation, I mean, I don't think he's. I'll go around. He's going to play 3-4-3, isn't he? He's not going to play 3-5-2 on Boxing Day. But Kulusevski,
Brentford, he won't change anything. But maybe moving on, I don't know. You might think about it.
So obviously, people are saying in here, Davo, Kane dropping deeper. Is that what we're going to need to do more to enhance Son? What do you think? How are we going to play it? How are we going to get Son playing better?
Well, but Kane has been playing deeper, both for England and Tottenham. He's been playing deeper and linking up more since the Mourinho days. I know that. And nothing ever good ever happened under Mourinho. But that part of the game he developed under Mourinho, and he dropped deeper, and he was the linkage, and that will happen again. What I'm concerned about Kane is that he's been flogged to death, even playing against Forest in the bloody League Cup, right? Yeah. And it's ridiculous, that one as well. I quite like the 3-5-2 from the point of view. Basuma came in and he looked better, sat in front of the defence, and Bentancur and your Danish hero, the Danish flappy hands, who's I've got to begrudgingly admit he is having a good season, and Bentancur
he is
as well. Those two have been 2 of the players of the season so far, and they look better going forward and getting in amongst the goals. So I think that would be better. And then as to the point of HG saying is that if you play two up front, you've got Son off the bench as an impact. And swap it around. I don't mind Kulu and Kane up top, actually. Taking it turns to drop deep. I think that'd be quite interesting.
It actually makes more
and obviously,
sense.
and then Royale's marauding runs down the right-hand side, deep three.
Pinpoint crosses.
And he crosses it in. And because he's been... So what was that thing that you do when you look one way and you pass it the other and it's the trick, which he got
It's
so
called
bad.
a no-look pass out of play.
So he's been practicing that for the last 6 weeks. So I think we're going to be good for that on Boxing Day.
Oh, I hope so. So Brentford, currently 10th, won 4, lost 4, drawn 7. New assistant manager, Klaus Nordegaard. HG, how are they going to line up and how are we going to beat them?
I deliberately put that in the run sheet for you to answer, HG. Sorry.
Well, obviously, having studied every single thing they've done this season, I didn't realise they've only lost 4 games. I mean, we've lost 4 games, right? So, there's something there. I've always associated Brentford with being 3 centre backs, and considering the success it's had against Spurs this season, I think they'll go 3-5-2. I think it will be Tony and Bremo up top, and I think they'll flood the midfield with either Janelt or Nordgaard or even Jensen, the other Danish guy. I don't expect too much from their wing backs. They might play Canos down one side because he's kind of almost a converted winger, but I don't think. I suspect they'll go 3-5-2. They might go 3-4-3, but I don't really know. I mean, whatever they did against Man City when they beat them, you might think they might want to try something similar to Spurs, because Spurs, we like to have the ball, and it's just a question of. Whether they can deal with it, but I do think that it'll be 3 at the back, which to me, when considering the teams that have played 4 on the back against Spurs have done a lot worse, that seems the easiest call for Brentford to make.
How do we beat them, Cam? How do we beat Brentford?
Hoping they're not refreshed. Score more goals, essentially. I actually think, Tony's nailed on to score at least 1 or 2 goals. I think coming into the World Cup, he was a beast and gave a bit of a diss to Southgate for not selecting him, and then scored 2 or 3 goals, I think, just prior to it. In the air, he's going to be dangerous, even off set pieces. I actually think, as I said, it's going to be a tough game. 3-5-2, the midfield's where it's obviously going to be done. That's why I think it's a tough game tomorrow, because I don't know how we're actually going in tempo going to play. To me, it's a question mark. So I don't know how sharp Son and Kane will be as well. I don't have too much faith in tomorrow's game because I just don't know where they're at. So I'm going to say the mid where Canal 2, I think it's going to be Bissouma and Højbjerg. Can they advance forward amongst many more numbers against them? I don't know.
I'll tell you what, Cam, we'll get Davo to tell us. Davo, how do we beat Brentford, and what are the odds on Tony scoring a goal?
Hey. I think we are Well, how are we going to win it? Have 30% possession up to the last 75 minutes of the game, which we then convert to 75% possession, and Kane will score a penalty, and all will be right in the world, and it will be the redemption of Kane. That's what it will be. That'd
be lovely, wouldn't it?
It would.
But I mean, when you look at it, obviously, like HG said, I should imagine Thomas Frank will have looked at Spurs. It will have its, because I actually think Thomas Frank's a decent coach. So, to be fair, talking to Thomas Frank, would you, HG, what would your thoughts be on when Conte leaves Spurs at the end of the season? Would you rather have Thomas Frank over possibly Poch?
No.
No?
Simply,
really?
In that case, no. Honestly, I'd probably rather have Tuchel, but that's a different question. Thomas Frank is nailed on to be Everton manager at some point. Right, and that's the next step for him. If he leaves Brentford for a bigger job, the Villa one, who's Villa manager right now? They just got someone in to replace Gerrard.
Good evening. Good evening,
Oh yeah,
bloke.
Emery. Yeah, he's not
That's
going
it.
there.
Yeah,
So it'll be some bigger club that is having a bad season / always Everton.
yeah,
I could see him going now, but I think he's quite happy where he is.
Yeah.
Considering that when they have a striker like Tony, who they know will score them 10 to 15 goals in the league,
yeah.
that's a pretty good start. If Tony leaves, then Brentford becomes a lot less attractive. So I think that I think he's there at least until the summer, and then maybe he might have other options.
Thomas Frank?
I think Tuchel. I mean, he's ex-Chelsea, so I can't see that happening. So I'd rather we'd have got. We need to get Scolari in first before we can get Tuchel.
Big
in
Phil?
order- yeah, to
Avram
completely.
Oh yes, please. Yes, please. Hasn't he just took over it somewhere? Is it
Namibia.
Namibia or something like that? He has just took over.
Wow.
I'm sure he has.
Is he at Namibia?
Something like that.
There was a
The thing
few
is,
stories floating
back
around
in-
about his behaviour in Israel, but we'll not talk about that, shall we?
Zambia, says Craig. Okay.
Zambia.
Okay.
Zambia, Namibia.
Yeah.
Let's call
Sorry.
something off.
I only saw the images on telly. I never read the story. Cam, Thomas Frank, you having him or not? You think he's a decent coach?
Decent manager, definitely. I rate what he's done with Brentford over the prior to the Premier League, and I do think he might stay 1 or 2 seasons more. He seems to have a little bit of loyalty to Brentford, but then again, if the cash is waved at him, that will test his loyalty. But I do rate him and rate what he's developed at Brentford. So yeah, big thumbs up.
So if the cash is waved at him, it won't be from Levy, so he won't be coming to Tottenham. Sorry.
Can I just say, back in 2014 when Potts took over, I wanted Tuchel then. So it would feel a bit weird for me to then to change my mind, 9 years later and be like, I think that Tuchel is after a while it becomes to actual management in games, and Potts has never really shown that, sadly, to me. So I Potts can create a behemoth because he did, right? There's no doubt about that. But I think when it comes to to me, Tuchel, having won the Champions League, is a better manager than Poch. Sorry,
Yep,
but
I agree.
At that very time, we were heavily linked with the Dutch guy,
Louis van
Louis. Yeah, and I think that was nearly done. And then Man United got rid of. Did they get rid of Jose? Was that
Moyes.
No?
It was
Moyes then, and
Moyes.
and he got offered the job and he took it. And I think if that hadn't have happened, I think he would have been Spurs manager because you remember Levy had been out to see him. I don't know how that would. How do you think that would have turned out for Spurs HG if
Terribly.
we'd
I
have gone
hate
down
that
that route? Yeah.
To me, there are two types of Dutch people. I mean, they're all arrogant. I mean
Yeah.
this nicely.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the Dutch people have a healthy opinion of themselves, and I like that. I genuinely do.
Yeah.
But that still means you've got those who walk around as if, because you think about it, if everyone is arrogant, nobody is.
Yeah.
Right? And so in
Yeah.
Holland, you kind of have that system, but Van Gaal carries himself as if he is the smartest man in the room, and he's not. Right? That's why I don't like him. You get Martin Jol, who's probably got a very high opinion of himself as well, but he never carried himself in that way. Even though maybe because he played in England, and it's just there's a different aspect to it. So Van Gaal at Spurs would have been a nightmare. It would have been just as boring as AVB. We'd have had five at the back defense. I mean, watch what he's done with Holland. Holland has attacking players, but he has them playing defensively. He did the same at Man United. So no, it would have been a massive failure.
So what's the population of Holland?
About when I was there, it was about 16 million, so probably a couple million more. 17, 18 million now. 17
million. Half of them are arrogant, and the other half are not. Is what you're saying?
No, genuinely, the Dutch just have a very high opinion of their own opinion, which I don't mind. I genuinely don't mind. If you have an opinion, you should own it. I firmly believe that, and the Dutch do. But I remember being at meetings in Holland, and rather than say I agree with the bloke who just spoke, you get another 10-minute diatribe about what they actually think, as if it's their right to say exactly what they think, even if they do with the person in front of them, and that's just a Dutch thing. It's not a negative to me at all,
Right.
but it's that they are, as far as the Brits are concerned, they are very honest. They do just say what they think, and I quite like that. I don't mind it, but Van Gaal, like if you have an argument with Cruyff, which Van Gaal has done, I mean, there's a very good documentary on Van Gaal. I think it's on Amazon.
Amazon, mate, yeah.
Because you get to see what he's really like, and like again, he's just very Dutch, but in a way that I don't appreciate, and so I would never want Van Gaal at Spurs.
HG though, obviously we'll go on to something else in a minute, but in that documentary, doesn't it go through his? I mean, he's quite a strong person, isn't he? I think he's like you said, obviously how he is, but he's a decent bloke, isn't he?
Oh, yeah,
I've been told to watch it, and he's a decent bloke. Yeah,
I just think that at the highest level, like being that kind of coach doesn't go down well with players.
No,
Like,
not anymore, especially anymore.
Even if Ferguson was the smartest guy in the room, I don't think he would have gone around telling people, "Look how smart I am," and that's what I get from Van Gaal. And Dutch people don't do that. Not all of them do that. They have a healthier. Like, I mean, I lived there for 3 years, so I do. It's not like I've been to Amsterdam for a weekend and thought this. Like, I feel like I know a lot about.
I knew we were going to go.
I have been to Amsterdam for a weekend, but that's another story. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's a negative to believe in what you say. I genuinely don't.
No.
I like that about people, but I just think that how that extends itself can go in one of two ways. And I think if you do walk around the room saying, not only do I know what I'm talking about, but I know more than you. It's like nationalism, patriotism. Like, you can love your country, but that doesn't mean that you have to denigrate everyone else to do so. And that seems to be the Van Gaal way.
Yeah. So no Dutch coaches come in at Spurs then, according to H.
It depends. It depends on the coach. This is like I loved Martignol because he wasn't one of those guys who would do that. So it's just. But yeah, having lived in Holland, like I feel like I do. Like Austrians are a different kettle of fish completely. They are very different to the Dutch, but the Dutch are pretty open and honest, and they will tell you what they think, and I don't mind that.
Right,
this is turning into an episode of Rapido, isn't it?
Right. Anyway, yeah, back to Spurs Brentford. So let's get some predictions for the Brentford game before we go on to the next point of business. HG, what are we thinking then? Score prediction, or do you you don't like making a prediction, do you? Usually,
I don't. I mean, I'm always wrong. I'm aware of that. I don't tend to get them right, predictions, but I want to think we'll win, so I'm going to say we'll win 2-1.
Excellent. Cam?
Desmond
2-2. Like it. Go on then, Dave. What are you thinking?
1-0 Kane, 89th minute.
Cam, I was going to go for Desmond, Cam, but I think I'm going to go for 1-1 now. I can't see us. I'm not overly confident, but to be fair, I've not been overly confident for a long time, even when we have been doing well. So I hope Adrian's bang on.
Yeah, I mean, this is like at the end of last season when we were doing quite well and we won 7 out of 9 games or something. We didn't win at Brentford, right? And that 0-0 almost cost us because we didn't play well that day, and Brentford could have easily nicked it a couple of times. Yeah. So I felt like that 0-0 kind of flattered us. So again, it's always the same with Spurs. It's about what we do. If we go there and play for 90 minutes, we should beat them. If we go there and do nothing for 45 and allow Brentford to get some head of steam up, we're in trouble because they are not a bad side and they can beat anyone, as they proved in their last league game. So it's always about Spurs.
Yeah. So let's move on. Conte contract talks. So obviously, I think this is let me see if this is the right slide. Here we go. Conte says he doesn't want to talk about it in public, but that he's really happy at the club and he has a real good relationship with the club. We have 6 months to stay together and enjoy the situation. Then we find the best solution. Davo, pick the bones out of that for me.
He's playing the usual game. Because if the equivalent of Louis Saha and Ryan Nelson turn up January the 31st, he will be straight down that airport and landing in Italy sharpish. It's the usual game. And he's clever about that, and I respect him for that, because he's basically saying, well, if you want me, you got to spend some money. And, the Athletic and Jack Pitbrook Levy was reporting this week that Levy has been telling Levy's been telling Conte that there's not a lot of money to splash around.
What's new? That's nothing new though. That's been, I'm not digging Enoch out or whatever, but that's what we're always told in December. It doesn't matter who's in charge.
Listen, those tifos, those speakers for Axel and the light bulbs for Lady Gaga, they don't just pay for themselves. We've got to watch the pennies. We're a multi-entertainment venue in North London, so and I've seen the gridiron dressing room. Obviously, it's a lot bigger. So imagine the electricity bill as well. So there's not a lot of There's not a lot of money apparently. Conte's playing the game, and then there's this thing in the Athletic or something. Some sources within senior management or some senior management, I think, not necessarily want to back Conte. They're looking at Poch again. It's just the same old.
I don't believe a word that Pitbrook writes.
Levy.
So that to me is enough. Like the quotes from Conte are fine, right? Like Conte's going to say whatever he needs to say, just to get the question off his back until the next time he's asked it.
Yep.
But there's one thing we can guarantee, that if it's based on contract length, Christian Romero is much more committed to Spurs than Conte is.
That's a very good point.
What do you think, Cam, from the comments and what we see and what we hear? Obviously, we ain't got a fucking clue. We don't know if any of it's true what we read, but what's your take on it?
I echo what Davo says. Conte is a smart operator, knows what he's doing, trying to lever the situation, wants to have funds available. I echo everything what he says. But then my next question is, where else would Conte go?
Yeah, well, yeah. But I mean, do you not think? I mean, it just fucking bores me. He's always considering his position, or it's always he's just playing the game or whatever. At some point,
shit'll get off the pot.
Yeah, well, yeah. Hey, don't get me wrong. I want Conte to stay, but if he goes, we'll just get on with it, and he goes. I don't know what you think, HG, but I find it all a bit like after the Burnley game. I could understand he was upset then, but then we backed him last January. He got Bentancur, and he has been backed because we have, whether they've been up to the required standard or not. He's not played Spence because he's a club signing, but he has had players come in. And how much you're going to back me? How far are we going to keep going? But it's just boring. Like you said, mate, shit will get off the pot. I don't know what you think.
I think that Conte is waiting to see what options are available in the summer. That's it. Yep. Nothing more than that. Like, he's running his contract down, and he'd be happy to stay if he doesn't get a better option. But if there's a better option, I think his family's still in Italy. Yeah. So if there's a job in Italy that comes up, he might decide that he wants it. And that's the position he's in. And so for Spurs, if we want to look after our own interests a bit more, then maybe we'll say, okay, well, thanks for your time and go. But we all know, as does Conte, that he's the best manager we've had
ever
for a very long time. Yeah. And the Spurs kind of have to just wait to see what happens. There's no guarantee there's going to be a better job available for him. But, even if he does commit, is it going to be a long-term thing? Probably not. I don't think so. I think it's like we've said on this show many times that like Kane's contract and Conte's contract are probably very much linked. Like Kane won't consider signing a new deal unless Conte is here, and even then, he still might not. I just think that for Spurs, like we'd be foolish not to think about possible options. But I think that again, there are plenty of decent managers out there, like Tuchel or Poch or whoever, that are looking at the situation at Spurs, thinking, you know what, it's a massive club with huge potential. It's a top 10 club in the world. Like, you would want to take that on. So it's not all doom and gloom, but I would rather Conte stayed. Absolutely, I would.
Absolutely, mate. I'm with you. Just on Adrian's comment that come up there, do the panel think that Liverpool, Man United will spend as both clubs are for sale? That's what Man U do. No matter where they are, if in doubt, spend a few quid. That's what Man U do. I'm not sure if Liverpool will, but they tend to really. Liverpool are a little bit like us. I know they spend a little bit more money and pay higher wage. Well, they have paid higher wages, but
They do. Yeah.
they do pay higher wages. But they tend to how they spend their money is a bit like Spurs-ish. They spend it better, yeah, but they tend to work on the same. The money that comes in, like Alisson and Virgil van Dijk were only bought off the sale of Coutinho. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know that. But
so they work that. They just spend it better. And they obviously have that little bit more because they are, historically, a more successful, which has made them a bigger club than Spurs.
Yeah, but that comes down to scouting as well. Because basically, when we had the money for Bale, we kind of pissed it up against
the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, you had Ericsson, then you had Bunjacic.
And some Argentinian. Some Argentinian we bought. Who was it again?
Lamella.
Oh, Lamella.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm just trying to trigger HG, but he's not triggered.
Yeah.
No. I am over that waste of space. Biggest wage thief Spurs have ever had.
Triggered. Carry on.
Yeah. But so what do you... Sorry, Cam. From what I said, though, Davo, just to embellish on Adrian's point, do you think those clubs will spend?
Well, yeah. As I said, the difficulty is they're up for sale, so the owners would probably rather not spend because they want to get their cash in. But it doesn't seem at the moment that no one's made a bid for either of them. I mean, you've got this Jim Radcliffe bloke who, billionaire who tried to buy United in the summer, so you would imagine that he's going back in there. And obviously, anyone on the Chelsea list that didn't get Chelsea, you'd imagine that they'd be having a look at the Liverpool situation as well. But you've got to remember we've got the Red Hot Chili Peppers coming down to the Tottenham Stadium in July, and I think for any regime that wants to do sports washing, surely having Flea in the gang, whack that bass,
rock up at the lane,
we'll forget about that country's atrocities, and all will be well.
And I'm sure we'll have another couple of NFL games next year, won't we?
Yeah.
So
every year for the next 6-7 years, I think.
Yeah.
So NFL, the Steps reunion tour, it's all happening.
Oh, brilliant.
No, but I will say this: the thing with Liverpool is that even though the owners want to get out, there's also the fact that they've lost the sporting director, and then the guy that they chose to handpick to replace him is also wants out. So. There are issues there. Not only is the team aging a little bit, right? Because Van Dijk's over 30, Fabinho's almost 30, Thiago's over 30. They're going to have to replenish an awful lot. I mean, Salah I think is 30 as well now. So Liverpool maybe aren't. They've got a lot of things they need to do. And if Klopp stays and oversees it, then fair enough. But I think Klopp is much more. I know the type of player that I want. You go and get them, rather than actually wanting to be involved in making sure it happens. So, and United are still 600 million in debt because the Glazers never did anything about it, and they spent a huge amount of money in the summer that was loaned. Right, it was never their money to begin with. So, if you look at the situation, Liverpool Stadium is better than United's, but ours is better than both.
Yeah,
I think that. We've only really got the one team in City that is absolutely. I mean, Newcastle could get there at some point, but Newcastle haven't splashed a huge amount of money. They didn't spend as much as Spurs have done in the last 3 years. So I don't know. I think it's all about what we do. I'm not so worried about what other teams choose to do because we've seen them make massive mistakes. So we just need to make sure that we don't. And the reason why Liverpool got where they went is because they didn't make many, if any, mistakes in the transfer market for a number of years.
They paid 30 million to Roma for Salah, didn't they? We paid 30 million to Roma for Lamella. That's the type of fucking mistake. That's the type of mistakes we've got to stop making. But it is, I think we are. Obviously, we pick up on it more because we support Spurs, but we make some fucking awful signings, don't we, Cam, compared to the other teams? They don't have doesn't seem like any other team has as many misses as we do in the transfer market.
Yeah, but that's about the people that are appointed. I mean, that goes to who are appointed to make these decisions.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if your track record of appointing people who don't do a very good job, then dare I say it, you have to look at the track record of the people who do the appointment in the first place.
But
And
we had
El-
Comelli.
And
He went to Liverpool.
Kamoli got, where did he get in? He got Kevin the Prince Boateng, who looked good everywhere else. Who else was there? He got in Modric. I'll give him that, obviously.
Bale.
What's his face?
Bale.
Did Bale come before
Might have been
Kamoli?
there at the time.
Or
I'm
the
not
very
sure.
start? What's
Bale
his face?
15 years ago now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a long time.
I can't remember. I parked the car at Westfield. Give me a chance.
Yeah.
Giovanni Dos Santos, who preferred the nightclubs of the West End
Yeah.
and the training pitch.
Yeah.
So, there was a load of players that Kamoli bought, which was a load of old rubbish. And I hate to say it, El Fab, he's 50-50 for me, which actually might be a better
That's
strike
pretty
rate
good.
for his predecessors. That's genius.
Like considering that Pochettino spent 140 million on Dombele, Lo Celso, Sessegnon, and Clark, it's a weird one. We know that Paratici knows the Italian market. We've done well. I mean, Galini was kind of, it didn't matter because it was a backup keeper. Like, none of us really thought it was good. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I mean, that's just it. Like Forster, it doesn't matter if he turns out to be a really good signing and if he stays for 3 years, if he's only going to play 2 games a season and doesn't do badly. Yeah. It's about those that are going to play, regularly. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I don't know. Like I suspect we'll go back to Italian football. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems the logical thing to do. And there are a number of players at Spurs who have been there for a long time who we'd all like to see go. Because they've proven that, even if they were good players for Spurs, it's time. Like, let's change it up a little bit.
You're talking about Lucas Moura
regularly, huh?
You're talking about Lucas Moura, aren't you, HG?
And Sanchez. They're the two that really stick out.
Right then. As HG's brought that on, let's go on to a little bit of transfer tittle tattle. Rabiot. You're talking about the Italian market. We'll go Davo first. What are your thoughts on that little nugget?
Well, I've always felt of his career is a little bit flatter to deceive. So he's perfect at Tottenham. And I'm not entirely sure that he's going to be fixing what we urgently need to address, which is something decent down the right. A better option, a fifth choice better option at least. Up top. I mean, the central defenders piece, I'm a little bit worried about that as well. I'm still underwhelmed by Longley. Sorry. And Dye gets injured, we've got a problem. So there's a lot to fix. If I look at the priorities, it's got to be a decent right wing back, a little bit of invention up top, who could be the fifth choice up top, and maybe a centre back. That's 3. Will we get that? I don't know. And dear God, if we start to, if he signs them, we'll sign them in the last week of January. Every year we do it. Every
Cam, obviously we've said Rabiot, but can you, same question to you as I asked Dave. Think that'd be a good signing? Can you see it? Something we'll be looking at? Something we need?
I don't know too much about Rabiot, to be honest. So I would probably. I saw a little bit at the World Cup, but I don't know too much about him per se to actually give a definitive conclusive answer. But right wing back is. I agree with Dave. We do need some reinforcements on that pitch. That's for sure. Right wing back is a joke.
Yeah. So, HG, before I come to you, this is a scenario. I was thinking about this earlier. We've obviously got Basuma, Bentancur, Højbjerg, 3 main midfielders. We've got Skip and we've got Sarr. The only reason I could see Rabiot coming in is because he's left-footed and he'd add balance to that midfield. Now, hear me out, because people will start losing their shit possibly when I say this. But what do you think if you get Rabiot in, loaning out Skip to a club a decent Premier League club, a Premier League club if you can, where he's going to get plenty of playing time. Same with Sarr, get him a decent loan, because Skip since the second half of last season and sort of like this season, his career has been stop-start. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to force his way into that team. Maybe being young, he just needs to go out. Obviously, we want him to have a future at Spurs, and there's a good chance he'll have a decent career at Spurs. But could we get someone like Rabiot in Then you've got 4 sort of what I'd say players that Conte would probably trust more to play in a 3 or in a 2, and with injuries as well. And Skip goes out and plays some football. What do you think to that?
I think that Skip is needed at Spurs. So, like, Sarr may well go out, but I think, if only for the homegrown situation. I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds awful, but really, I think Skip is needed. And the Rabiot signing is the type of thing that makes sense if you intend to flip him a year later for a lot more money.
Yeah,
Right?
you can do
That's
that,
it.
can't you?
That's the only reason, as far as I'm concerned. He's a decent player, but he's not what we need to improve. And
No.
so, like, yeah, if you think that you can get him in on the cheap and then sell him a bit later, but I also don't. I don't think Rabiot hits all the things that Spurs usually go for, apart from the fact that we don't need him. But
Yeah.
the papers don't care about that. So that
No.
he plays at Juventus and he's out of contract. Brilliant. We'll just link him with Spurs and people will lap it up. I'd be amazed, genuinely amazed, if we spent money on him, because, and I'd be amazed if he decided that Spurs were his next club. I mean, if I'm I think he'll run his contract down at Juve and then decide where he wants to go, and I don't think Spurs will be in the conversation.
They're talking 13 million, aren't they, for him? And I agree with you. You could probably, if he came in and play, even if he played and just did all right, you'd probably double your money on him, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. I'd have thought so.
If you could sell him, I mean, that's just it. Like, there'd have to be a team that wants to spend money, and I think as one of the comments that Adrian says, like, a lot of teams don't have money. Like, English teams have money because our TV rights are so much better. But other clubs are still dealing with the pandemic. They really are. Or they're doing what Juventus did and they spend a whole lot of money on flipping Vlahovic and they might have to sell him because they can't they need the money themselves. So I just, it feels as if, like, if Paratici's going to go to Juventus and help them out financially, can we go and get Chiesa?
Again.
Yes.
You know, I don't mind. I don't mind us doing that if we get players that actually help us, and I don't think Rabiot really would.
No, it's a shame Dybala went to Roma because we won't get linked with him again now, will we? That would have been fun. A month, sort of like Dybala's come in and then he doesn't. Davo, Pedro Porro, another one heavily linked. Right wing back, I believe. Is that the type of player we need at right wing back? Or is he really not up to the required standard? Or have you not got a clue who he is?
Is he a right back or a right wing back? That's the.
I think he is more of an attacking player.
Right. Okay. So look, obviously, I think there's some issue around if we get him, we've got to pay City something, or there's something about something to do with City, etc., etc. Look, he can't be any worse than Emerson. Get him in. It's just, I mean, well, that's the reality of the situation. I mean, we spent 400 years negotiating with Forest for Spence. We don't play him. You're going to get him out on loan, and then if we get him in and he, as I said, he beats a man, gets a crossing, then that's an upgrade. I mean, he's got quite good stats in the Portuguese league this year. But Portuguese league's not all that. So get him in because Royale is just awful. We've had some shocking right backs over the years. Noe Pamara.
No, we haven't. Like who?
It's not Panto, is it? Noe Pamaro, Brian Staven, the beloved Dean Austin. So Royale joins that museum. So I'd get him in because he's not Royale and he's attacking. Get him in.
I've heard a fair bit on this guy. Yeah.
Go on, Cam. Let's have tell us what you.
Yeah, I've heard a fair bit on this. He's actually statistically quite decent, but word is his defensive work is, in obviously being a right wing back under Conte, he's defensively not that great. Now, is he just another Perisic on the other side? That's the question, because Perisic, I wouldn't say, has been amazing defensively speaking this season. So you wanting someone that can defend down that flank?
Yeah.
We've seen Porro play twice this season, right? Because he played for Sporting against us. And I felt that in both games he was their best player. It was only really 2 Sporting players that I was impressed by. And he was one of them. But a lot of it is kind of the name, right? Because he was really, really highly ranked at City, and he went out on loan to various teams in Spain, and then and then Sporting, paid the money, but City have a buyback amount that they could easily do, and then flip him on later, like they did with Angelino.
Yeah.
So like it really is kind of down to City, more than anything else. And I just think that considering City inadvertently really kind of set up Arsenal to be their main challengers, I don't think they're going to want to do it again. So to me, it seems a bit of a non-starter. As much as we might want him, I'm not sure City would allow that to happen.
City have, I think they've got I think there's a release clause for Porro, but City have got, I think they've got either first option to buy him cheaper. So it's like if they can get him if the release clause is 45, but they can have him back for 25, 30, they know they can just buy him back and then sell him and make more money, don't they? So.
Well, I mean, if they want to, I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Like, for Man City, it would, like, even if they don't want to help Spurs, it would make sense for them to make 25 million quid profit by buying him back for whatever their fee is, and then selling him on to us for a similar amount to what we would pay Sporting for anyway.
Yeah,
it's that's exactly the type of thing that Levy would do, right? I mean, we saw Atalanta do it for Romero, where they buy him in, and then so it would end up being one of those kind of we'd end up buying him from Man City, but it would have to be a loan from City. I mean, there are lots of things at play, but I just again, if we're looking at ways to improve the team, I think that you could probably find a cheaper way of doing it on that side, and then spend the money at maybe that creative midfielder that Spurs fans seem to want. Like I'd rather we spent the money on Maddison. I do. Than spending 45 million euros or whatever it is on Porro, and that doesn't mean that Porro is a bad player. I just know that if the money is limited like we're told it is, I'd go for Maddison.
We're not going to go for Maddison in January. I'm with you. I'd love to get Maddison.
No, not in January. No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Madison's going to Newcastle.
Is that inside information, Dave, or just you piecing the bits together, and that's what you think is going to happen?
It's inside information inside my brain.
Yeah,
so I reckon he'll go.
Excellent.
I think he'll go in. I think he'll go in the summer. I think Leicester will be mad to sell him in January. I don't think Leicester will go down now. Your mate Brendan sorted it out, HG, and I think Maddison will be sold to Newcastle. Conte will go back to Italy, and then Brendan will be our new manager, HG.
Don't say that. HG won't like that.
And he'll bring Lamella back in on the coaching staff.
Somebody's made a good point in here, though. Sorry, HG. But with the signings, if Conte is, if they're not sure he's going to stay, are we going to go? I know this will be like, fucking Enoch, whatever. But because they're not going to back him if he's leaving, are they? They're not going to spend money and get like players in that he wants if he's possibly not going to be there. Could that be
especially when you've already got a bunch of players that he doesn't want to play? Like if we only had one right wing back, it would make sense to get another one in regardless. But when we've got a number of them, it's. I mean, but the thing is, that's what you would do, right? I mean, like it is a catch-22. Like you're going to hamstring the club with a player that maybe won't be wanted in 6 months if Conte leaves. Like it's almost like, look, Conte, great. Like we've got the deal set up. You sign the contract, we sign the player. That's it. Yeah. That's what you can do. But it seems. I mean, I don't know what money Spurs have, but the whole loan thing has worked well for Spurs. So I think that's going to be something that probably we'll want to do again.
Is there still rumours to Malinowski?
They've died down a little bit, haven't they? But me and HG have spoken before that we think that's a player that could likely come in that we'll be looking at attacking reinforcements. But that's died down a bit. But it could go again in January.
To me, he feels like Amrabat was last January. Like it's there if we want it, but we might find something better if we can, or we want to see what we can do instead. So Malinowski's a good player. I think that we're offering too much money. Like apparently they want 15 million euros for a guy who's out of contract in 6 months. That seems they're just using us because they know we've got cash because we're English. I don't know. Like, I like Malinowski as a player, I really do. But it's like, if we can't get someone else, that might be where we go.
Squad player though, isn't he? HG, if he comes in, he's not a guaranteed starter, is he?
No, but with Kulusevski around, it sounds awful. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily want, like, we want someone who's good enough to play when he's asked to play.
Yeah.
And if Kulusevski is out for 6 weeks again, that we're not concerned about him fitting in. I mean, that's what a good squad is.
Yeah.
Like, the best squads is where you could probably name the starting 11 if everyone was fit. But you never really see that starting 11. Like, do you remember that? As much as I don't want to talk about the Champions League final, like, everyone thought that Liverpool team was the best Liverpool team they had available, and that was the first time that 11 had ever played together, which is just crazy. But that's what you need to do. You can have 8 or 9 players of that best 11 that start every game, and then the other 2 or 3 are good enough that the performance of the team doesn't die down.
No. Dave, what do you think? Like, obviously, I don't think we'll make these types of moves in January. But do you think it's time when what we need to do is make the players we've got who we think need replacing need to be squad players? Like, in my opinion, we need to be buying somebody who's better than Dyer, so Dyer becomes a squad player. The same with Ben Davis. That's what we need to start doing in these transfer windows, isn't it?
Yeah, but on the other hand, we've really get rid of the absolute deadwood. So your Royals, your Sanchez, your
Mora,
Brian Tanganga, Brian Hill, all of that. But as we tried to shift the load last summer, your Winks, your Rodon, your GLCs, your Tangies, and all the rest of it, as the market's not great for it. I thought we were going to raise about 150 smackers last summer by selling all these players, plus that up to 150 from Enix for on and off the investment. We were going to go balls out in the market. Instead, we got Clement Longley.
Yeah. There's a comment here that Craig put in.
Yeah.
Like, I like to keep track of this. I'm that kind of nerdy. Like, right now, Spurs only have 14 non-homegrown players. So there's 3 spots in theory that are available. We have, I think, 9 who are considered homegrown, and that includes people like Harvey, like Brandon Austin, like and Tanganga, ones that really aren't going to be around, but they still count in the number. And we've got 3 under 21s, which are Harvey White, Sarr, and Brian Hill. Now, both White and Brian Hill become full squad players next season. So, like, if we keep Brian around, then he has to become one of those foreign players. But I don't think we're going to do that. No. So it's a question of like I feel like right now with 14 plus 9, it's 23. We can buy 2 players for anyone, and as far as the Premier League is concerned, we're fine. Obviously, the rules are slightly different for the Champions League, but we may only have 2 games. So, like, I think we need to focus on making sure that we have the best squad we can get, and like even if we, even without getting rid of Lucas and Sanchez and all the ones that we think we probably would do better without, we can still get 2 in, no problem.
Right, so with bearing that in mind then, HG, what do you think we will do in the transfer market? End of January comes, what do you think Spurs will have done, in your opinion?
I think we'll probably be like 2 in, 2 out. I don't think we won't use the system as much as we could, which always annoys me. Like, if someone wants to come in and maybe fight for a position for 6 months on loan, then we should do it. If the rules allow us to do that. But I think that that there'll be the players that Conte wanted to get rid of in the summer but couldn't. They'll be on their way, and we'll try to find people that can come in and maybe do a better job of that particular role.
Okay, Cam.
Yeah,
what
I
do you
agree
think?
with HG. 2 in, 2 out. I don't think there's going to be massive movement here in the market. It's not, the continent's still pretty poor compared to the English clubs there. So, yeah, I think 2 in, 2 out.
Okay.
I see a couple of loans, yeah.
Got any names, any positions, players out or in?
Hill has to be loaned out. I'd probably go Jed Spence for his development. I think he'll be here past Conte. And so he actually needs time. For the limited footage I've seen of him playing for Spurs, he's actually been encouraging, but Conte has a mental block over him. So he needs that for his development. If you can sell Lucas for 50p or something, that would be great. But I'm
Like, if
in
Spurs
regards
want to have
to
those players, we just pay them off. I mean, if we want to get rid of them, we just pay them off. We did it with flipping Aurier. We can do it again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Davo, what do you think Spurs will have done by the end of January?
Weston McKennie, Rabiot. Who else does Juventus want to flog? We'll get them in.
Vlahovic. Apparently, they want to get rid of Vlahovic.
Well, they might have to because of the issues that they have.
What's the story there? Are they getting relegated because they've been cooking books and so forth, haven't they?
Allegedly, Cameron. We've got we've got Italian lawyers watching this. The Italian Attorney General loves this show. Let me tell you. The situation is that what the reports were coming out is that the authorities were preparing arrest warrants or whatever to initiate some kind of proceedings because there was a whole load of investigation in the last year, and then they said it's not happening anymore. And then the next thing is that almost all the Juventus board have now resigned, and so the investigation is going into it, whether it's the tax authorities, etc., and they're questioning a whole load of transfers that have taken place, some of which were in when El Fab was there, and that's the situation. So, Vlahovic was bought. They got the Bentancur and Kulu helped fund that, and they're in a world of pain at the moment. So that's where they're up to.
Yeah, I don't know if they've been penalised yet, so it's all illegal.
Well, no, but it's all the investigations got to take place, and then see what happens there. But it's not looking great, and it might have implications for us.
Yeah.
Well, is that with the implications for us will be obviously Paratici, won't it?
Correct.
But, was one of the deals they were talking about Romero to Spurs?
Well, they also said they're going to chuck the Royal deal on top as well, just for the shit. Although it's outside of Italy,
just for shits and gigs.
For shits and giggles, they're actually questioning how, in the space of 12 months, Tottenham can pay 25 million quid for someone who spent most of his career at Real Betis, and then a year later go back to the same club and just do a loan deal for long loan. Bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, look. Hopefully, but when it comes to January, we will get the right players in. Been saying that for a long time, but
you've been saying that for the last 22 years, I think.
That's something like that. Yeah, might be a few less. Yeah, but obviously, so Boxing Day, football's back, Spurs are back. We all gave our predictions on the games, but there's a whole host of games back on Boxing Day. I believe these are the games. So why don't we have a little? Why don't we go through everyone and have some score predictions on these games? Are we up for that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think my mum was watching. Mum, I'm going to be using your Amazon account, okay?
So, Spurs, Brentford, we've all been through that. Right, so we'll start HG. We're going to do one game and we'll give their prediction, then we'll move on to the next one. So, Crystal Palace, Fulham. What do you think, HG?
Draw.
Yeah. Davo?
2-1 Fulham, Mitrovic, double.
Cam?
1-0 Palace.
Yeah. And if you want to put your predictions in the comments, that'd be great. Next one then, HG. Everton, Wolves. Wolves with what's the guy's name who's took over at Wolves? Lopetegui.
Yeah, Lopetegui,
and they've just obviously can't play, but they've just bought. Is it Kahuna from Big Kahuna Burger from?
Have they actually signed him? Is that done now?
I think it's pretty much done, but obviously can't play. Won't be able to play till January.
He can't play. Weirdly enough, home win. I think Everton will do it. Yeah.
Fair dues, Dave.
0-0.
Cam.
1-1.
Okay, that sounds like a fun game to be at. HG, Leicester, Newcastle.
That's actually going to be quite a good game. That will be the one I watch at 3:00. Newcastle don't concede many, but Leicester are doing better. I think probably got 1-1 written on it, hasn't it?
Yeah. Davo?
I think it will be 3-0.
Oh, good game to watch then.
It's cooler leaving early then.
Newcastle
Fulham leaves at
3-2.
2-1.
Yeah.
Oh,
You got, sorry, Cam, what was that? Newcastle 3-2?
Newcastle 3-2, yeah.
Fair dues. That'll be one to watch then, folks. If we're right, it'll probably be a 0-0 shit fest. HG, Southampton, Brighton.
Home win.
Interesting. Dave?
It's a South Coast derby. They'll all have gone for a nice walk on the beach before the game.
Yeah.
I'm going 1-0 Brighton.
Okay. Cam?
1-1.
Right then. Villa, Liverpool. I think, I mean, it's different for me because I live, Villa fans are everywhere around here. We could do with Villa getting something here, couldn't we, HG? But what do you think will happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think Liverpool will be looking to try and catch us, so we don't want that to happen. So we want Villa to get something. Yeah, I mean, Villa haven't had too many players at the World Cup, I don't think. I mean, obviously the goalkeeper weren't there, but that's the big thing. If Martinez isn't going to play, then you put money on Liverpool to get the result they need. So I'd say Liverpool away win.
Okay, Davo.
I got this feeling that Martinez has raised his profile somewhat over the last 2 weeks. Seems to be catching a lot of attention.
Basically, players usually raise their profile when they win the World Cup, unless they play for Spurs, at which point Spurs fans hate them forever. So it's an interesting one, but yeah, Martinez was always a good goalkeeper.
Not mentioning any names about Spurs fans hating. I don't think they do.
I mean,
do
a
they?
lot of Spurs fans are on Romero's back, and
Yeah.
I don't.
Me and Dave are
one
up. Me and Dave are two of them. But I think it's only for a bit of a laugh. But yeah, he's pissed me off.
Maybe for you, Gibbo. Maybe for you.
He's on my list at the moment, Romero.
Yeah.
Don't you worry about that.
Yeah.
Right, I reckon Liverpool are going to win 3-0. Salah hat-trick, refreshed from his 5 weeks off. Salah hat-trick. Get him in your fantasy team.
Villa Liverpool should be a good game. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going Liverpool 2-0.
Okay. Then, what a two horrible teams in the 8 o'clock kickoff. I know what I'd like to happen here, but I'm not going to say it. Arsenal, West Ham, HG.
Well, one, I'll be watching the Detectorists.
Yeah.
Or Detectorists, sorry, there's no the. And two, I think we're doing a video while this game is on. So that's not great timing, is it?
But for the Detectorists or the game? Sorry, what did you say the score was?
Sorry. No, I think it will be a draw. I think West Ham will get something.
Hope so. Well, you know what I mean.
Arsenal don't have a striker.
Yeah, I thought Jesus is injured.
Yeah, exactly. He's out for 3 months. Arsenal
Isn't there someone else in their attack that's injured? Isn't it someone else injured?
They'll bring Nketiah. Is it Nketiah?
Yeah, but Nketiah's wank. Nketiah scored 2 at Chelsea when Chelsea did their usual bend over for Arsenal.
Yeah,
but Arsenal clearly play very well as a team, and they are a good team. And I don't like saying that, but they clearly are. I just think that it's kind of set up. First game back, their main striker's out, and they'll get the wobbles. And a draw would constitute a wobble. So I think West Ham are more than capable of doing it.
Go on, Davo.
0-0. Because the people in that stadium don't deserve anything good in life in a footballing context.
That's the type of shit I'm talking about, Davo. Cam, what do you reckon?
I'm going to go 0-0.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully it'll be a piss poor game. Correct. The result will go in our favour, and the people in the stadium won't have anything nice to look at or cheer about. So then the next day, Chelsea, Bournemouth, HG.
Home win.
Yeah. Dave.
Haven't Bournemouth just got a new American owner? Is that my imagination?
No,
they do. Okay. Well, in that case, 3-0 Chelsea.
Yeah. O'Neill's been given the job now at Bournemouth. Has O'Neill been given the job permanent now at Bournemouth?
I don't know, actually. That would be crazy if he hasn't.
Yeah, I thought he had. So obviously he's done really well, hasn't he, to get the job. So now he's got it. He'll turn up to Chelsea, and Chelsea will pull their pants down.
Correct.
Cam, going for a full house?
2-0 Chelsea.
Yeah. HG, United Forest.
Yeah, home win.
Davo,
5-0 United.
like the good old days. Cam,
3-0 United.
yeah. And then Wednesday, last game out of this round, Leeds City. That should be quite a decent game, shouldn't it, HG?
Yeah, Haaland's going home.
Yeah. What do you reckon?
Exactly. Yeah.
City will win. I mean, Leeds will play well, but City will win.
Davo,
4-0 City.
Cam.
3-0 City.
Right then, there you go, folks. We've been through those games. What do you think of? I mean, I haven't been looking, but what do you think to our selections? Are we going to try and do that every sort of Friday preview, or do you think we'll just do it because Davo put it in the run sheet this week?
Well, I like
as long as no one keeps track of our predictions, I'm all right with it.
Yeah. I don't think anybody is keeping. So back to Spurs when we finish off then. So what are we hoping when we play? Obviously, we've done a prediction of the Brentford game, but what are we hoping to see, HG, from Spurs? Now Spurs are back. We got the transfer window. We got a few injuries and stuff like that. But what are we hoping to see for the rest of the season?
For the rest of the season,
yeah. What do you think, and what do you suspect? But what do you want?
Oh my gosh,
that's a deep question.
I suppose I'm glad it's just referring to Spurs. I want. Oh my gosh, I want Spurs to be consistently better. Like, although we got some good results in the first part of the season, we weren't ever really convincing. I'd like us to be a bit more convincing in games, and I'd like us to start trying to dominate the ball a bit more. Because I know we can. I know people talk about Conte being this defensive manager, but I still think a lot of it is down to the situation that we were in last, before the World Cup, of having to play all those games, was it like 13 games in 40 days or something stupid? Yeah. I mean, looking at January, we've got right now 6, probably a 7th if we beat, right? So 7 games in January, that seems a lot, but they're quite well spread out, right? Like we've only got, I think, like, especially when you consider that 2 of them would be cup games. If they're cup games against lower division sides at home, gives you a chance to rotate quite easily. So I don't know, but I want Spurs to be a bit more positive and to go out there and try and beat teams rather than just rely on, I guess, the luck that we had, because we had quite a lot of luck.
Yeah. Here, definitely, mate. Cameron?
This is going to sound really boring, but squad rotation. I was actually genuinely surprised coming into the World Cup how stubborn Conte was, how ran into the ground a lot of those players were, and how tired I think they will be. I think we do have talented players on the bench, not all of them. But I would like a little bit of spread of, like, more game time for Doherty, hearing what he's been doing in this mini off-season. I would like just generally a spread of playing time for more of those guys on the bench.
Fair enough. Davo, what are you thinking?
So what I would like is the South Korean Sovereign Wealth Fund to buy Tottenham.
Yeah.
I think the human rights is all good down there, and we'll all be happy about that. And they have loads of money.
Yeah,
that's number 1. Number 2, I would like to see us dominate the game more from the get-go and play more attacking side football. Obviously, we're going to win the Champions League. We're going to win the FA Cup. I don't think we're going to get in the league, so I think we'll finish second. We'll beat the Goons in the FA Cup final, and we will beat Man City in the final of the Champions League. Is it in Poland?
Turkey.
My apologies. Right. My apologies for my European ignorance there. So that's what's going to happen.
So,
weirdly enough, I feel like one of the that can happen to Spurs is that Spence goes out on loan and actually proves himself to be Premier League quality. Yeah. That, weirdly enough, under Conte, but that would be a good thing for Spurs going forward. Where we're like, because if that happens, we're suddenly, because Doherty's probably on his way out in the summer, right? And we all want Emerson to go anyway. So if Spence can prove himself to be of the required standard, then we're only looking for one, And I think that's got to be something that it's weird that he won't be doing that for Spurs, but it's like when Kyle Walker went to, was it QPR and where was he?
Villa.
Went
to Villa.
Yeah. And he had a really good season, and that put him in the conversation at Spurs. If Spence can go and do that would be great.
That'd be good news for Spence, because I think Poch is more likely to play him as well, isn't he? When he
and Tuchel.
and Tuchel,
and anyone not called Conte, pretty much.
But listen, lads, great show. We're back on. I think we're back Boxing Day, aren't we? HG for Dave.
I want to watch the Gooners. Yes, but we are back.
We'll get some. Yeah, someone will be here talking about the Brentford game. It won't be me. But thanks for everybody for coming on tonight. Cam, thanks for joining in, mate. A little bit late notice, wasn't it? I think you got the call up yesterday, but thanks for coming on.
But there's not much going on in Melbourne the best of times. So
here we go.
Let's not get into this.
Yeah, here we go. I was waiting for that. You've been well behaved, Dave. Haven't mentioned Melbourne at all until now.
You've agreed with me at least 3 times, Cam. We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Davo, thanks for coming on, mate. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas Eve. Thanks for filling us with your positivity. It's been a pleasure having you on.
I thought I was quite positive.
I thought you were, actually. That's why I said
it. Whether people thought I was being ironic, that's for them to work out.
The most negative of the 4 of us, but it was actually a positive performance from Davo.
Excellent. Well done. And HG, as always, thanks for coming on again, mate.
No worries. And Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone. Yeah. More to the point.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Like I said, Christmas Eve for me tomorrow. Christmas Eve for you, HG, tomorrow.
Yes, but Christmas Eve will be our big day this year.
Yeah.
Because we go to church on Sunday, and I don't want to come home and start cooking. So tomorrow will be the day, and then Sunday will basically just be, we'll go after church, and then we'll come home and do the whole Skype thing, because that takes hours of our Christmas every year.
Yeah, of course.
I'm excited. It's Christmas.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks.
Great,
it's more work because now I've got to entertain my own bloody kid for 2 weeks. Like, it's much easier when they're at school. You can just dump them there and be like, you entertain my child and you teach them. And now I have to do that. I love her, but do you know what
I'm a PS5. Stick them in front of the telly.
We've got to go ice skating, and we've got to go to the zoo, and it's like minus whatever here and all those things. I'm like, I've bought her a tablet, so hopefully she won't want to leave.
I think it is snowing, isn't it, HG, in your neck of the woods?
No, it's actually super warm. It's like 9 and 10 degrees over the next couple of days. It's been cold, but it's unseasonably warm, and I'm not excited about that either because now I'm being negative.
And Cam and Davo, it's Christmas Day tomorrow for you, isn't it? Because you're in Christmas Eve now.
Yes, so I always like to go to the beach first thing in the morning for a Christmas Day swim. Yeah. So get that mental image in your mind.
Which beach?
Me and my speedos. Well, I'm near Balmoral, so I'll go there. Yeah. You've only got one beach. You've only got one beach in Melbourne, St Kilda, so you'll be going there.
No, we're going to Aspendale Beach tomorrow, mate.
You'll be going where?
Aspendale. It's on the eastern side of the bay.
Oh, lovely. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
nice.
That big massive bay that Melbourne is, that has a beach running all the way down one side, and then Williamstown and the shit factory on the other side. But Werribee, loves the smell of Werribee.
Yeah,
that doesn't suit my narrative.
So, in the words of Noddy Older, Merry Christmas, everyone, and come on, you Spurs.
Ho ho ho.
Come on, you
Spurs.